I want to play a game of Guess Who. I'm going to describe a person, and then I want you to try and imagine what that person looks like based on how I'm describing them. Let's start with this scenario. Imagine there's a terrorist attack anywhere in the world. What does the perpetrator look like? Guess what? You're right. You may not be right 100% of the time, but you are right most of the time. And you are certainly right this time. Is that a problem? What do you think? Do you think the fact that you can predict the answer to this question is a small issue? The government doesn't seem to think so. The government seems to say, hey, guys, listen, I know that this keeps happening over and over and over again, but there is no problem. And the real answer is you're just a bigot for noticing. I'm Tyler Chrestman. Welcome to the Chrestman Conversation. Okay, hello everyone. I have a couple of things that we're going to talk about this week. We're going to be talking about that Bondi mass shooting that happened, France canceling their New Year's Eve celebration plans in response, and we're also going to talk about Jasmine Crockett saying a bunch of asinine things, which is always fun. So we got a bunch of stuff to go over this week, and we're going to get right to it. But first, my favorite comment from last week comes from longtime listener Tom Frasca, who said, quote, blow them up. It's funny the Democrats complain about this, but don't say a word about Putin being a war criminal, end quote. As I said last week, Tom, I agree. More people die from overdoses at this point than were killed in the Vietnam War. So it's time to blow those speedboats up, stop the drugs coming into this country. You don't get my sympathy. You're terrorists, and terrorists get a missile. They don't get well wishes. So anyway, thanks, Tom, for the comment. Always appreciate it. Now, I want to jump right into this because I have a lot of stuff to say about this. Did my microphone sound loud? Turn that thing down just a tiny bit, just a hair. Okay, so topic one, another terrorist attack by the usual suspects. Did anyone enjoy the game at the beginning? Did you get the answer right? Because let me tell you, I thought it was a pretty easy question. I wasn't throwing any trick. It's not a curveball. Okay, the exact people you would expect committed this terrorist attack are the ones who committed this terrorist attack. Let's give it a little background, and then we're going to talk about some of the implications for this attack moving forward. Basically, on 14 of December, you had two terrorists who entered this place called the Archer Park, which is basically right next to Bondi Beach in Sydney, Australia. It's a very famous place, tourist destination, a lot of celebrations there. These two men entered the park. They pulled out guns. They began shooting into a crowd indiscriminately. Now, there was a large Hanukkah celebration that was planned on Bondi Beach that was taking place, so it seems very clearly an anti-Semitic attack. The guys who were doing it were obviously aiming to kill Jews. That's what it seems like from the outside, and it would be a hell of a coincidence that two terrorists who happen to be jihadists picked the Hanukkah celebration on accident. So an anti-Semitic attack, mass shooting, the two gunmen killed 15 people. They had, last I saw, 40 people were wounded in the attack. One of the gunmen was eventually shot and killed. The other has been detained by police. I know he was in critical condition. I believe he is going to live. I think he is out of everything. He's going to live. So killed one, detained the other one. The police also found two bombs that were removed from a car that belonged to the shooters. And there's a lot I want to talk about here, but that's basically what we're talking about. That's a news story. You had two gunmen who went into this place, shot up a bunch of people, a lot of Jewish people, clearly an anti-Semitic attack, obviously radical jihadists. They pledged allegiance to ISIS, it sounds like. So there are some different strings that I want to tug on here about this topic. We are going to talk about immigration and Islam being the two major points that we're going to have to discuss, because these are the two issues that they don't always go hand in hand. When I'm talking about immigration, a lot of times I'm not talking about the import of Islam into the West. I talk about that in a European context quite often. In the American context, we're talking mostly about the southern border. We're talking about a dilution of the value of labor. We're talking about some security concerns, but in a different way, drugs and gangs coming across the southern border. We're not always talking about terrorism, though we have touched on it, because I believe my number could be a little off here. I think it was something like 20 to 30 people on the terrorist watch list were caught coming across the southern border when Joe Biden was president. So that leads me to believe that a lot more people on the terrorist watch list have infiltrated America already because that border was so porous that they just walked on over. But when we're talking about immigration, we're often not talking about it in a terrorism aspect in America. In Europe, that is a very big concern. Europe has committed suicide with their immigration policy, and it may have started off well-intentioned, but it was a terrible idea at the beginning, and now we're learning it. We're going to get ahead of ourselves here just a little bit. So the two terrorists who committed this shooting in Bondi, they are a father and son duo. They're aged 50 and 24. The father is 50. The father apparently immigrated from, and I'm going to do a terrible job with my pronunciation here, not intentionally, but just because this is a ridiculous place. It looks like the father immigrated from Toluchowki, Hyperbad. All right? Toluchikawi, maybe? I don't know. Something like that. Some goofy ass name. He immigrated from this place in India. So it's kind of central to southern part of India. The father moved from there to Australia in 1998. The son was born in Australia. He has been on the radar of the Australian Police Intelligence Service for at least 6 years. I said since 2019. Several people associated with this guy have wound up in jail. So the son was praying, basically at a mosque, that the Australian government deemed radicalized. The guy who was leading it, I wish I had his name in front of me. I actually forgot it off the top of my head. But the guy who was the head of the mosque was a radical. They arrested a bunch of people in the mosque for plotting different terrorist attacks. They knew that this mosque was trouble, that this little group of people were trouble. The son was a part of it. Many of his associates are in prison right now for planning terrorist attacks in Australia. The Australian security agency said that this guy, this is the quote, was not an immediate threat. What a joke by the Australian Security Committee. What a terrible job that they did here. Anyway, so a little bit about this. The father's been here for not quite 20 years, but a little bit shy of 20 years. He came over in the 90s, all right? The son was born in Australia. He's lived his life in Australia, is what it sounds like. He was radicalized in Australia by Muslims in Australia. There's a giant question here as to how do you deal with this problem in the West? Now, Australia, yes, I know it's not in the West, but it's kind of part of the Western canon. When we say in the West, typically what we mean is, hey, where are those places that follow British common law? That's kind of what we're talking about here. And when we're talking about Europe, we have Europe, and then we have places around the world like the United States and Australia that were colonized by Britain, or South Africa that were colonized by Britain and follow basically British law. Now, South Africa's got its own things, but Australia is part of the West, even though it's kind of its own thing. We talk about it in a Western way of that blend of Athens and Jerusalem, this mixing of our culture of laws and norms. We share a lot with Australia. We know what we're talking about. The same could be said with Japan, by the way. We don't share a lot with Japan, but Japan is a very westernized country in terms of their liberalism and the way that their government behaves. So we have this weird thing. We say the West. We basically mean the good civilizations, the advanced civilizations that are doing well in the world, and then we say the rest of them. So, yes, and I know what you're going to say. There are going to be people who would be offended by that. Not all cultures are created equal. The Western culture is better. Period. Full stop. It's better. So the Australia basically imported this man from India, came to Australia. He's lived there for 20 years. Son's born there. He's Australian. Okay? So how is it that you deal with this as a society? Because one, you're saying, okay, the guy probably, I'm not saying this for sure, but I guess for the last 20 years hasn't been that radical. He managed to survive in Australia since 1998. He couldn't have been walking around refusing to integrate a little bit with Australian society, but yet he still winds up radicalized. His son, born in this country, not this country, America, but the country being Australia, born in that country and raised in this sort of Western society, still manages to be radicalized and commit this atrocity. What are we going to do as a society to fix this problem from happening? Now, I said in the intro, I think there are solutions to this. I do not think they are palpable. Are palatable, I should say, not palpable. I do not think that people would tolerate them. I think that people would come out here and accuse us of bigotry or Islamophobia, that stupid word. And I think that we just have to say we don't care. It really is it. There are, in the United States, you have about 3 million, last time I checked, 3 million Muslims who live in the United States. I know many people who are Muslim, who were born in the United States, who basically are westernized versions of the way people treat Christianity, like your casual Christians in America, are the way that, for example, a lot of my Muslim friends. Can you hear that? Fire alarm's going off. Well, we're going to pause this. I'll be back. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. I don't know if you guys could hear. I could kind of hear it through my headphones. I don't know if it's picking up in the microphone, but we had a fire alarm going off in my building. So I had to pause. I did not evacuate. I'm just going to take my time. I've rolled a die, okay? If there's a fire out there, I'm just going to jump out the window. I'm not that high up. It'll be fine. Or I'll just wave and say, hey, put a ladder up here. Let me walk down. I think I'll be okay. But I'm not walking out. It's going outside. Anyway, no fire as far as I'm aware. The alarm stopped going off, so I think we're okay. Anyway, let's try and pick up where we were. I was saying how how there are a lot of Muslims in the United States who are westernized. They grew up in the West. They kind of inherently have these values of liberalism that are in people in the West. They don't take their religion seriously. We get a false sense of what Islam is like in the rest of the world by interacting with people in America, because America has done a fairly good job of assimilating people because we have a smaller number of people who can get here. But all you have to do is look at Europe and see what unfettered immigration from the Muslim world gets you. It gets you places in Europe where it is unsafe to travel, where the police cannot do their job effectively. You get in the UK, for example, you get the rape rings of young English girls who are trafficked, thousands of them. You get the places, like, for example, in France, where they say it's unsafe to be openly Jewish. Is that what we want? We want a country where you just can't practice your religion. Multiculturalism is a failure. We cannot have multiple cultures exist in one place at the same time. I'm not saying that the Islamic world can't be Islamic. I'm not saying that Israel can't be Israel. I'm not saying that Africa can't be Africa. South America can't be South America. And all the countries in there can have their own thing. Of course, cultures are great. I love traveling. I love experiencing new cultures. I love learning new things. I want America to stay America. I think the culture in America is better than other places in the world. That is what I think. I do think that we are better. And it's not, again, there are going to be people who want to say that this is some sort of a bigoted statement. It's not. Because America, while we are a people, it is important to remember there is a people aspect of America. It is not an inherently racial identity in America. It is a more creedal value. The thing that makes America America is our set of values, our laws, and our traditions, which are better than other places in the world. They just are. You're not going to say, we're not going to take a place like the Congo in America and say, look, obviously these cultures are equal. They're not. One is better than the other. It's not because the Congo is inherently black or America's more white. It has nothing to do with that. I think we're better than Scandinavia, and Scandinavia is way whiter than America. I don't like the Scandinavian culture any more than I like the culture in the Congo. I think that there's too many things that I dislike about places. America does it right. I really do believe that our history, traditions, and norms are better than other places. I do not want to live in Afghanistan. I do not want to live in Iraq. I don't want to live in Syria. I don't want to live in any of those places. I have no problem with people who want to come to America. I get it. But we have to do a better job of policing who comes into the country, and we have to scale it way back. I think I saw something that said in 1990, 4% of the U.S. population was foreign-born. Right now, today, it is 16%. 16% of the United States population is foreign-born. That's too many people. It really is. Because at a certain point, for example, if I have a bucket of M&Ms and I drop in a Skittle, You go, and it's a bucket of M&Ms. How many Skittles until it's a bucket of Skittles? How many Skittles till you can't tell me which is which? I, I like Skittles. I like M&Ms. I'm not saying one is better than the other, but what I'm saying is if I want M&Ms, I can't just throw a bunch of Skittles in the bucket, okay? It doesn't make it better, by the way. You're not mixing chocolate and fruity candy and somebody says, oh, what I really want is M&Ms with my Skittles. No one's saying that, all right? But people are lying if they say that that's true. The same is true in America. I have no problem with people who want to come to America. I have no problem with immigration into America. As long as you assimilate to American culture, and we're doing a bad job of that. You look at Minnesota, you look at Dearborn, Michigan, you look at these places where you have these insular groups. I don't want those places to exist in America. I don't want there to be a little Somalia in Minnesota. I don't want there to be a Muslim population in Dearborn, Michigan that says it's good when Christians leave their city. I don't think that is appropriate. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's necessary because the fact is that the Muslim world and the world that you want to live in, and by the way, Republicans know this, but the liberals on the left, they don't seem to understand this. The things that you value on the left, the liberal values that you hold, the people that you want to bring here do not share those values. And we can do this very scientifically. This isn't just Tyler Chrestman saying this. This is we can look at this with the best data that we have available. Look at Pew. Look at the polls that they've done around the Muslim world, the 35 majority Muslim countries in the world. Look at things like apostasy. For those of you who don't know, apostasy is the rejection of a faith. So in this case, Islam. What happens if you reject Islam? Or if you're a Muslim and you then renounce the faith? That's what apostasy is. What is the policy of apostasy in America? No one cares. Do whatever you want. You're born a Christian, you denounce it, no one cares. There's no punishment for it. There's no government punishment. There's no societal ostracization. You can do whatever you want. You can walk around being an atheist. You can be an agnostic. You could be a Mormon or worship the spaghetti monster. I don't care. No one cares. You do whatever you want. That's not true in the Muslim world. If you reject Islam in the Islamic world, they will kill you. That's not me saying this. This is the best polling data that we have on this. It says upwards of 90 to 100% in different countries of people think that apostasy should be punishable by death. That means if you reject the faith, you should be put to death. The overwhelming majority of Muslims in the world believe this. There's 1.5 billion Muslims in the world. The overwhelming majority of them believe if you reject Islam, you should be put to death. Think about that for a brief second. Understand how incompatible that is with your life as a liberal, as a person on the left. There is no way that you can say, oh yeah, that's fine. We can deal with that. It's just a different multiculturalism. That's just their culture. If they want to put people to death, hey, it's just as good as America. No, it's not. Bad. How about the things that you also care about, like the way we treat gay people? Do you realize that gay people are still put to death in the Islamic world? In America, we had to fight. They fought for a long time to get the right to marry. Okay, fine. The debate is whether or not you can force churches to marry gay people and whether or not that's right. And we have this big whole debate. In other parts of the world, they kill gay people. They murder them. Not some random hate crime, which people will say, oh my God, well, we do that in America. There's hate crime in America. First of all, it's almost non-existent. Look at the numbers. It is almost not. The people who are killed for being gay in America is almost nothing. They're almost zero. It's not true in other parts of the world where it's not just some random hate crime, some crazy person who hates gay people out there gay bashing. We're talking the state will murder you. It's illegal. There's a crime that is punishable by death to be gay. Is that compatible with Western values? Could you live in America if you thought that we should just be killing homosexuals? No, you can't. If you walk down the street in Times Square with a machete, it's all day hacking people up. You're like, too gay in America. No, we don't. You can't do that. It's incompatible. What about the treatment of women? That's the feminist cause on the left. Do we think that the Islamic world's doing a good job of their treatment of women? You're going to put them in a burlap sack in the desert and just be like, this is fine. We don't want men looking at her. Put her in the sack. Go to your husband, submit, or we get to beat you. And there's going to be people who take offense to that. Hey, guess what? I'm quoting your scripture. I don't have the hadith here in front of me, but I'm allowed to beat my wife. It says so right there. Allah said, yeah, you can beat your wife. Just, as much as you want, really. If she's out of line, just give her a little smack. It's fine. Okay, do we think that's compatible with Western values? No, obviously not. These used to be liberal causes, but now the liberals are saying, "Oh my God, you're a bigot for pointing out that Islam is full of bad ideas. So you're a bigot for saying that Afghanistan's worse than America. How would you? That's Islamophobic. No, it's not. It is common sense. I have no problem with anybody. I don't have a problem with people who would say that they are Muslim. I don't have a problem with people who say they practice Islam as a faith. That's not my issue. My issue is the fact that people have ideas, and the ideas are bad. And I think if we're going to use our ability to discriminate, right? And that's not a bad word in every sense. But if we're going to use our ability for good, we're going to say, hey, do we need more people in the country who disagree with the American ideals? And I'm not even talking about the ancient one. I'm not talking about the founding document ideas that drive this society. I'm talking about even just the modern, more liberal ideas. Do we need to import people into America who want to undermine those or go against them? The answer is no, we don't. And you can use a real quick sorting mechanism to just say, we don't have time. There's billions of people in the world. We don't have time to filter all of them. So we don't need to import people from the Middle East into America. What do they bring? What do they bring? Chain migration? Okay, maybe this guy wants to be an engineer in America. Okay, maybe we bring him. But why do we need to bring his cousins? Why do we need to bring his parents? Why do we need to bring his second aunt twice removed and all his nieces and nephews? We don't need to bring any of them. Bring the one guy. The one guy might be able to come. He might be able to come over here, and we stick him down in some suburb somewhere, and we say, all right, now you're going to be here for 10 years till you assimilate, and then maybe we'll bring one more. We need to cut this down. The terrorist attacks in the United States are almost completely predictable and preventable. It's the people you most expect. That's who it is. That's who's committing. There are going to be people out there. I see the arguments already. Well, what about all those white terrorists? Those guys who commit the mass shootings, the big white people. Okay. Yeah, they're bad too. That's a different thing. That's a problem that we need to handle in America. I agree. We need to figure out a way to stop people from mass shootings. But you know what we don't need to do? We don't need to import a bunch of mass shooters from other places in the country to make the problem worse. That is a completely solvable problem. I'm with you. Let's solve crime in America. Why don't we start by not bringing in people who are going to commit crime from other countries? Boom. Step one, I'm with you. Let's solve crime together. It doesn't make any sense why we need to bring people in from the Middle East to make America better. What are they bringing here that we can't get from Americans? What are the contributions that the Middle East has made in the last 40 years to America by bringing immigrants into the United States? What are they doing that we can't do with other people from other places if we need to have immigrants here? I don't know the answer to that. You don't know the answer to that because the answer to that probably doesn't exist. Okay? I'm going to be real with you. I have nothing against people who want to make their lives better. If you want to come to America and you really want to embrace the American dream and you really want to work hard, and I think that's great. I do. But we don't have time to just handpick every single person from around the world. You have to make big decisions. And the big decision should be we don't need to take immigrants from everywhere in the world at all times. And if you want to say that's a religious test, that's fine. But Islam is, as Sam Harris once said, the mother lode of bad ideas. And it is true that right now, as it's practiced throughout the world, the beliefs that go along with the Islamic faith are a problem. Again, in America, they're not, because they've secularized a lot of the American Muslim population, and they're more westernized. That's great. That's what the goal is, to assimilate. But we don't need this from everywhere in the world. Terrorism is preventable. We like to pretend it's not, but it is. You just have to restrict the flow of Islam into the West. That's it. Full stop. France. This leads us into the second half. It's not exactly topic 2. Hey, what's going on with this hair up here? What the heck, buddy? Get down there. It's not exactly topic 2, but it's topic 1B, where France canceled their New Year's Eve celebrations along the Champs-Élysées because they were worried that they might be targeted by a terrorist attack. This is cowardly by the French government. Capitulating to terrorism is despicable. I actually think it'd be the duty of every Frenchman with a sack to go up and celebrate that in person. Be prepared for violence. There might be some terrorist attack, but the French can't just give their country away. You're saying, oh my gosh, guys, their terrorists might be out there. Everyone just stay home. We'll watch the fireworks on TV. Everyone really always enjoys that. It's like those idiots who take videos at the 4th of July of the fireworks show. Yeah, just watch the show. It's only good in person and it's only good live. Okay, we're not going to do this on television is what you're telling the French people. The French people only deserve fireworks on the TV. That's lame. Go to the river and watch the fireworks. 1 million people showed up to this celebration last year. And the French government says, hey, guys, it might be a little dangerous out there. Remember, listen, not that it's a problem, not that the French government did anything wrong, but remember when we let in all those Muslims from the Middle East? Well, it turns out some of them probably are going to attack the celebration. All right, listen, it's not our fault as the French government because we just let a bunch of people in with an ideology that wanted to bring death and destruction to France. How are we supposed to know? How are we supposed to know that importing a bunch of fighting-aged men from the Middle East was a bad idea? Oops, if only we could have predicted this. Now, this is the European problem. It's more of a problem than in America, but it can easily be here. We are a plane ride away anymore. The world is not its own bubble. We're all connected. We're a plane ride away from France, and that makes a plane ride away from this problem. The people who have come to France, they do not share French values. They do not identify with the history of France. They don't know what it means to be French. They're anti-Semitic, anti-gay, anti-woman. They're the tendencies that are shared throughout the Islamic world. And they've been invited in. It's important to remember. Let's do a history lesson. But before we do a history lesson, I think someone wants to say hi. Winnie. Oh, gosh. You haven't made your appearance in forever. You got anything to say to your fans out there? Winnie? No? You just want to look angry? She always loves her camera time. It's important to remember. Here's our history lesson. Islam conquered Spain. They conquered Spain. They conquered Portugal. They were in Italy. They were in Malta. Up in Greece. They closed in. A lot of Europe became Muslim 500 years ago because Islam, through the sword, conquered large swaths of territory and converted people, put people to death or converted them to Islam. That's why you have those European countries right now, Eastern Europe, that are Muslim countries. It's not because Islam just wandered around and gradually people did it. No, it's because they went there and were converted by the sword, and that's the history of Islam. It came through and conquered large swaths of land. Now, it was beaten back by the Crusades. That's why, when people ask, Tyler, he's pro-Crusade. Crusades were great. So Islam conquered with the sword, and now Western civilization has forgotten. We've thrown open the doors to people. We've invited them in. We've said, hey, guys, we care about you. Come in here. We know that because we're so concerned with the plight of the put upon, the beleaguered, the colonized. We say, oh, my gosh, you guys, you've had it so rough. Why don't you come on in and conquer us from within? Just open the doors, open the gates, wave them in, guys. It'll be fine. It's disgusting. It's disgusting behavior, and people in power either don't recognize it or are complicit in a terrible, terrible path that the West is walking down. It is important that we understand this and understand that we're in a civilizational clash. I've talked about this, I think, every week for the last month. I feel like this has come up. But it is a big deal. It's been on my mind a lot lately. And you got to be more explicit about it because we keep having these brushes and we keep having these talks, and there's another terrorist attack and another terrorist attack and another terrorist attack. We haven't talked about the Brown shooting because we don't know who the shooter is, but if it wound up being some radical lefty named Alu Akbar Jihad Muhammad, I wouldn't be surprised. It wouldn't catch me and I'd say, oh my gosh, who would have seen it coming? It also wouldn't catch me if it was some furry trans weirdo. I would go, oh yeah, that makes sense too. I'm not saying it's got to be one or the other. I'm just saying that stuff doesn't surprise me anymore. It's just, you go, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense to me. We have to fix this problem. We have to recognize it. We have to have an honest conversation about it. You can keep lying about it. You can keep pretending that it's not a problem. The real problem is white people. Oh, white people are so bad. No, that's the real problem. We need to talk about racism in America. That's the real problem. No, the real problem is there's a global war on the West, and the West refuses to wake up and understand it. So anyway, let's move on before we just rant about this all day to topic 2, and this is going to be a shorter one. Jasmine Crockett is a gift. This woman, it's not even in my notes here, but I just want to give her a round of applause. Let's do the little golf clap. Golf clap for Jasmine Crockett. She is amazing. I hope that she wins every election she's ever in. I mean that. I really do. I hope she just continues to win forever. Not the Senate race, because that would be terrible. But keep her in the House where people don't really matter. She says the most idiotic things, and I just love it because she is the id of the Democratic Party at this point. And I think it's a wonderful thing. Now that I don't have it in front of me, but if we're going back to our outdated philosophy and we're talking Sigmund Freud, you got the id, ego, and superego. And the id is basically the impulsive, natural part of your body, the thing in your psyche that just the instant gratification. That's what the id is. You know, the ego is sort of self-reflective, and it's the part of you that experiences yourself and really is analytical, and the id is just like, I want it. It says what's on its mind. That's the id. Jasmine Crockett is the id. She says the things that Democrats think, and she doesn't really think before she speaks, and I think it's great. So she said a bunch of stupid things this week. I couldn't even pull up all of them. I just want to talk about a couple of them. Well, the first one she floated was that black people shouldn't pay taxes. I thought that was just wonderful. And because, I mean, what a stupid idea. This idea, by the way, that rich people don't pay their fair share, we've debunked it 1,000 times. I'm not going to do it here. But also the idea that, okay, well, we can't get reparations, so let's just give black people a tax hiatus. You know, Jasmine, let me clear it off here. Let me wipe my face. All right, so, Jasmine, let me explain something to you. Honey. Black people already don't pay per capita as many taxes as their white counterparts. I know it's going to be hard to explain. It's going to be hard to believe. I'm not talking on a grand scale. I'm not talking on an actual scale of here's how much taxes white people pay, here's how much black people pay. I'm talking on a per capita basis. The amount of taxes paid per person. When you talk about black people and white people, black people already pay less than their white counterparts. They don't need a tax hiatus. They need a tax hike. Okay, you need to start making more people, and this is just because a disproportionate number of poor people don't pay taxes, and black people are disproportionately on that lower end of the spectrum. I think everyone should pay taxes. I don't care but the fact that 50% of the country doesn't pay into the federal taxes is ridiculous to me. Everyone should pay something. We should all opt into the system. I shouldn't be paying for people who don't pay taxes. It's silly. Everyone should pay into the system. I'm not saying you all have to take. You're all not going to get money back, but what I'm saying is we all should pay in. I think it's ridiculous. So black people don't pay taxes. That was great. But that's not even what we're going to talk about today, though, because what I want to talk about is this week, Jasmine Crockett said this, and I think this is amazing. Here we go. Take a listen.
In the country and educate people about what immigrants do for this country, or the fact that we are a country of immigrants.
Right.
The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now.
Girl.
Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hands. You're not. We done picking cotton. We are. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation.
I know that's right.
So I had to.
Okay. She's just a moron. I got nothing nice to say about her. Okay, let's start here. Getting all agitated. Let's start here. So, number one, 1863. That was the 13th Amendment to the United States. 1863, slavery in the United States is outlawed. That is 162 years ago. 162 years removed from the Emancipation Proclamation and the 13th Amendment. I am so sick of people like Jasmine Crockett pretending that she is part of some oppressed class of people. 162 years. Get over it. You had nothing to do with slavery. Neither did your parents or your grandparents or your great-grandparents. None of them. had anything to do with this. And yet we're supposed to pretend that Jasmine Crockett, we're done picking cotton, honey. Girl, we ain't doing it. What? No, shut up. This is ridiculous. It is the best place in the world to be black is the United States. Name me another country right now today that you would rather be born in if you're black. You're going to pick some African country? Hey, all right, that's your choice. You have at it. I don't know why you would do that. All those people from Africa want to come to the United States. They want to be black in the United States. You would rather be born black in the United States than anywhere in the world. That is true. So I don't want to hear about how, oh my God, it's so terrible to be black in the United States. It's not. It isn't. We are I mean this literally. Pay attention. We are the least racist, multicultural country in the entire world. Have you ever traveled anywhere else? Have you ever been to Europe? Have you ever been to Asia? Do you want to talk about what they think about black people in those places? How they treat black people in those countries? Do you think it's better or worse than the United States? I would encourage you to travel more if you think it's better because you haven't been anywhere. Okay, let's say are they less racist in Africa? I don't think so. I think they're less racist to black people in Africa, but they certainly are not less racist to white people in parts of Africa. They certainly are not less racist to Asian people in parts of Africa. This idea that the world is just this utopian vision where everyone is nice to everyone and America is this evil outlier of just terrible racism. First of all, I don't think racism is that bad in the United States. I really don't. I think that there are hateful people in the United States. I think we're a country of 350 million people and there are going to be assholes in that country. I don't like them. They're not my friends. I'm not defending them. I'm just saying that they exist. These people are always going to exist in every society. But do I think America is structurally racist? No, it's ridiculous. And it's the best place to be black in the world. So Jasmine Crockett, that silly thing just drives me nuts. So she puts on that voice, by the way, because I've heard her do interviews where she speaks like me. She's out there talking, and she talks exactly like this. And then she goes and talks to a room full of black people, and she's like, girl, we ain't picking cotton no more. I hate that. That code switching shit is so inauthentic. I find it cringeworthy and gross. I don't know what it is. I don't like it. So anyway, that's that whole first thing. But the second thing is, and this is actually the more important point, this argument, I've heard this from liberals, people on the left, Democrats. I've heard this from progressives. I find the argument that she's making hilarious for a lot of reasons, but this big one is that we need illegal immigrants because people don't want to work on a farm. So we have to import this lower slave class of people to pick our food. We can't. You're not going to pay people to farm in the United States. A head of lettuce would cost $16 if we had to pay American workers American wages to do this. So what we need is this low class of people to come into America so we can pay them under the table wages at below market value, basically indentured servants, so that they can pick our vegetables. That is such a weird argument from people they claim to love Hispanics. We love Hispanics. We want them here. Immigration's great. We just need them here so we can pay them slave wages to pick our crops. That's such a weird argument. And she's making it earnestly. She's saying, we're not going to farm. Black people ain't going to farm. No, we ain't going to be on the farm. We ain't going to find no plantation. As though most of our farming is done on the plantation system anymore, whatever. So what we need to do, honey, is we need to import a bunch of Mexicans to pick these crops for us because we can pay them less money. Hand to Jesus. Jasmine Crockett, that's a terrible argument. But you hear, again, making it earnestly, liberals will say that we need this. The economy would grind to a halt if we couldn't pay indentured servants to come pick our crops. It's a weird argument when you're supposed to be the party of compassion. I've always thought that. I've always thought it's a weird checkmate Republican move to say we need to do this. I don't know. I don't get it. Anyway, I feel like I've been talking forever. I had to cut the video in the middle. I have no idea how long I've been on this video now because I don't remember how far the first one was when I got edited together. Now I got a whole big list of responsibilities there. So I think I'm going to end it there. I want to just say questions, comments, concerns, leave them down below. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. And if not, you know what? You tell me down below. You tell me how bad it is. Tell me all the things I got wrong. That's my favorite. Just tell it's Tyler. Let me write you an essay about all the things that you did wrong. Number 1, you're dumb. Number 2, I don't like your mustache. Whatever it is, write it down below. Write your essay, and I will get back to you as quickly as possible. And until then, I hope you guys liked it, and I'll catch you guys next Friday.